When I first started out, I wanted to have like all brand new stuff, shining and things like that. But as I progressed into beekeeping, I realized it's not about the equipment, it's about the bees. So you don't have to have like fancy like store-bought stuff. You can make your own stuff as long as it works. Actually, the grandpa that I bought my bees off, he's been doing it for like 50-something years. And all his stuff is like homemade. This box here, this old one, is actually from him. And he made it out of basically some plywood or something like that. And see, this handle is very rugged. It's very rough. It's not very easy to grip, but he's been using that for a long time. So yeah, it works. Yeah.
As long as it works.
This is a pollen trap. I guess I don't have to wait till everyone else for this. Basically, the idea is you kind of stick it here, and bees are forced to go through these small holes, if you can see that.
Yeah.
And what that does is that it causes the bees to drop the pollen that they are carrying on their back legs. It's not going to make them all drop it. It's going to take about 30 to 40% of it. So in spring, you can capture a lot of pollen because they bring a lot of pollen that's extra. So every day you can go out and take the pollen out, and you can have your own bee pollen. Yeah, you can eat it. You can, but you have to see. There'll be some like other stuff, foreign things that you don't want to eat, like parts of bees or something like that. So you're gonna have to go through it. But yes, you can eat it. Yes. So that's the pollen trap. Obviously, I've used it a few times, so it's not clean.
Not that clean.
Now these are the Hive Tools. There are more, but I have two types here. I'll show you how it works. This is the frame holder. I usually have a brick on top of my hive lid because it's just sheet metal. So when you work the hive, you would have like a smoker, but I don't have one. So that's the lid. Goes on top of it. That's like a propolis mat. It's an optional one. I don't use it, but basically, if you want propolis, and that's some insect. If you want propolis, you can put this on top of beehive. It's got some gaps here. It causes the air to go inside, and bees don't like that. So they block it with propolis all the way. And you can harvest it and take it out, put it in the freezer, and then take it out, and it's gonna be really hard. So you can just go like that, and they'll all pop out. And what you can do with the propolis is you can grind it with like NutriBlot or something. You can eat it like that, or you can dissolve in alcohol, but then you have to go through a distillation process to get the propolis extract out. That's that. There is. So this is what you call either brood box or honey box, honey super, depending on where it is. I've got a queen excluder here. What this does is that it causes the queen to stay under this, because queen's too big to fit through here. Only the worker bees will be able to fit through that. So what that is for is that you want to keep the brood under here and not have to worry about brood being in the honey. So when these honey frames are full, you take this one off, shake all the bees off, brush them off, and you can just harvest that. Free of brood. Whereas if you don't have this, when you come to harvest the honey, you might have some brood in there, and what ends up happening is that as you harvest, or the brood comes out into your honey. And I mean, I don't mind, but some people don't like that. I just strain it and it's fine, I think. Oh yeah, you can smell the wax. So basically what I usually do is, if I have the honey box and if it's springtime, then I just crack this open and I just check underneath for the swarm cells. If I see any queen cups there, and then I go through every frame to see if there's queen cells. But usually, if you are quick to give them enough rooms, they won't swarm. These are the Hive Tools. The way to use them is that the idea is you want to loosen this. So this one, you have to go like that. Obviously, I don't use this one often. There's a reason for that. I like this one, because this J tool, you can hook it like this and take it apart. So idea is you hook this side first, and then you grab it, and then you hook this side, and then you grab it out like that. And you have to be quite steady because there's going to be a lot of bees on this. Now this is what you call a frame, and this says wax on it. I've done a really poor job because this used to be a really dirty frame, and I just want bees to make cells and make brood on it. But as you can see, it's got this hexagonal shape here. This is plastic. This is what you call plastic frame. I use plastic because it lasts a long time, but bees like the wood. Yeah. Basically, the bees draw on top of this and they make a cell. So that's the super and brood box depending on where the location is. So that's the terminology. And that's the base. So you have your base and you put your brood box on top of that, and your bees live here, and that's where the bees will go in and out. And so in the winter, if it becomes colder and bees cluster up in the middle, you want to close this down like that to about 2 or 3 bee spaces, and that'll be your overwintering strategy to keep the bees. I normally use some wood. Yeah. I like to be able to control it, so I just have like a piece of wood and just put a nail there, and I'll slide it like that. You'll see that when we go over there. So that's that. Any questions on the Hive components? Okay.
So just a comment.
Yep.
Why that hive tool you use is so nice, because you actually, when you take it out, you want to be quite careful.
Yes.
You don't want to damage the cell, break the cell, because then the honey runs out before you're ready to extract it. So that's why you want to be quite careful not to damage it.
This tool also, you can do this. When the bees, propolis is actually like a glue that they use inside the hive. They don't want anything moving around and any holes in there, so they use propolis to glue them down. So when you work the hive, you'll be noticing this, that they'll be really stuck there. It'll be really difficult to pull them out. And if you didn't have plastic frames, if you use the J tool, when you go like that, the wood might snap off. So when you use this tool, you can go like that to loosen it, like this. With this one, it's a little bit different idea. Idea is this becomes a pivot point, and you go like that, and you kind of have to go like this to bring it up. And you have more area, so it doesn't snap as easy. But I don't like using this.
The disadvantage is you will break.
Yes, you break into the hive. Yeah.
Honey drips
Yes.
everywhere. Everything's sticking.
So the beekeepers who use this, they'll go like that, or like this, or like that. But personally, I like this one. And while you put on your veils, I'll show you guys how to light the smoker. So this is the key component, key equipment when you're beekeeping, is the smoker. Because what it does is that it calms the bees down. So this is, actually when I first started, I didn't even have a smoker. So I just started. And all I had was, I didn't even have the Hive tool. So all I had was like a screwdriver, and I just went there and I started just poking with the, say if this was a screwdriver, and I just started like poking here and lifting this frame up, and yeah, and the bees got really mad and they were like everywhere. But later on I learned to use the smoker. It's a magic, you can calm them down.
The smoker uses like the thing that the bees think of fires in the house, so they
Yeah.
get all the food they can get and go away.
So smoker, the best fuel, I think, this is my opinion, is the pine needles, which I don't get any around here. So, and thank you, Esther, for bringing them around. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, to start them, yeah. So the lighter, you want to get something like this like barbecue starter kind of thing, because you want it to go right inside. So once it's going, you want to put the fuel in, and you want the smoker to be going really well, because you don't want it to turn off while you're working the hive, because then you have the hive open and you have to relight it, and that increases the chance of bees getting upset. And yeah, when they get upset, the more likely that you'll get stung or someone else will get stung. Now, the smoker, you want it to be really hot, but you don't want the smoke coming out to be hot. That's the trick. Yeah, you don't want flamethrowers because basically when you're shooting out flames, you'll be burning the wings of the bees. Yeah, I did that a few times actually. I didn't know anything when I started, so yeah, I went to the bee club later on and I learned a lot actually. I'm all over like, let's try it and find out and learn the hard way. But what I like to put in is that once I get the smoker going really hot, then I'll put some grass in, something a little bit wet. And what that usually does is that the dry stuff keeps it hot and the wet stuff cools the smoke down. This is a trick I learned from the guy at the beekeeping club. So I'll just go around and try to grab this grass, which is partially dry, but this is going to make this stuff smell like some kind of weed burning, sorry. Yeah, this is just part of the deal, sorry. So everyone who hops in my car says, are you smoking or something? It's like, no, I'm not, it's my smoker. Yeah, so I'll have that going really well. I'll just test it like that and to see if it's just enough, yeah. And that's good. And we're ready to go. So, when you open the hive, some people like to do it beforehand, but I'm always in a hurry, so I just crack it open and give it a few puffs and they calm down. And I just wait a few seconds and they calm down. Actually, I'm fortunate to have my bees are very mild and gentle. So, but if you have aggressive bees, then I'll give a puff at the entrance before I open it, like a minute or so before I do it. And then that usually signals to the bees that they need to calm down.
So
Yeah.
what's your secret to having calm bees?
You work them really slow every time. Then they know. Yeah, but if you're really aggressive with it, and every time you open, even though you do all the right things, they'll attack you. Yeah.
It's like I learned that the hard way as well, like fast movements.
They don't like it.
Yeah, they think that you're like robbing the hive, like an animal, because you know animals move very fast when they're robbing the hive because they don't want to get stung. So they're like zipping around, and they think that you are the enemy. Then, but if you move like super slow, they actually can tell the difference. So I have to constantly be telling myself slow down.
So you don't want to knock the hive, you want to be really steady with your hands. There's actually a lot more to beekeeping, but I can't do everything today. But once you get into it, they have different ways to signal each other. Like when every day they'll have like orientation flights of new bees that are ready to go out fly. And then they sort of like dance around at the front. Actually, a few bees are sending the pheromones out, signaling this is your hive, and then when they go out, they sort of like gently fly around here and then further and further out, and they spin around, and it's basically they're trying to get the orientation of where their hive is before they go out foraging. So there's different things that are built into bees. They're so fascinating. Yeah, yeah. And once you start beekeeping, you're so fascinated with these things that it's amazing. So this is what you call a nuke hive. Which is like a nucleus hive, nucleus colony. Basically what it is, it's just a small beehive with lesser frames, but it's got a queen in it, it's got everything that bee has. This is what you call a single story. So it's just got a brood box, and in there you got like honey and everything. This is more typical of like early summer. I've only just put on a super because this is my new split with the new queen in it. So it's not going to have any frames at the top, but on the bottom it should have it. The reason why I have two lids is that this one has a hole in it. And I used to feed my bees through this hole during winter. So. Pardon?
How do you do that?
With a jar. So basically what you do is you put some small holes into a jar lid. And you put some honey syrup, not honey, sorry. Honey's expensive. Sugar syrup, sorry. I'm a beekeeper. So I put in a really thin sugar syrup, like 2 to 1. 2 water, 1 sugar. And what it does is that it tricks the bee to thinking, oh, this is spring. Let's make some eggs. Let's make some brood. Yeah, so that's how I build up a really small hive during winter to raise a lot of brood. Yeah, that's just, sorry, that's a beekeeping beekeeper's trick. So this one won't have much in it, but what I do is I just put the lid down. As you can see, this one has wooden frames because bees like the wooden frame, but it's got a plastic foundation. So it's got the best of the both worlds. So plastic foundation won't rip as easy when you go extracting, but wooden frames, they like it. So, but like I said, I put it on yesterday, so it's not going to have anything on it. It's the bottom story that we're interested in. So it's not a particularly strong one. I didn't pick a strong one to bring here because I didn't want to scare you guys. So, but there's a lot of bees in there. When you work it, you will see these burr combs. This is what you call burr combs. So what it is that bees build these combs in funny places where they have space.
Did you say bird comb?
Burr.
B-U-R.
B-U-R-R, yeah. So they do that, and it becomes a nuisance, especially when they're on the side. If you take that out, that's just gonna rip, and honey's gonna be all over. So what New Zealand beekeepers usually do is we take out the second frame usually, like that. And you gotta be really steady when you take this out because you don't have much space. So you just take it out like that. And see this bit here? That's the kept honey. Yeah, and that shiny stuff there is the nectar. It's not yet dry, so they haven't sealed it. But if you see it here, that's got eggs. Can you see some eggs, Hugo? The white speck.
The white speck. I need glasses.
Okay. Anyone with good eyes here? Just along here, it's got white spots in there.
Uncle, I can see the big yellow ones.
So these are all worker bees.
Yes, they are all worker bees. So these are the kept brood. So if we just open a few of these up, like if we open that up, you're gonna see a pupa inside. Yeah, you have a pupa inside. It's elongated. So one next to it is not elongated. This one's still curled up round on the bottom. Yeah, so that's a pupa that's elongated.
Yeah.
I can see the
Yeah.
pupa because I have good eyes.
Yeah, but basically here it's all eggs, newly laid eggs. So what you're looking for when you open up a hive is that you want to look for eggs. Now, can anyone tell me why we are looking for eggs? Okay, Sion, go ahead.
Bees.
No. Why are we looking for eggs?
That means you've got a queen.
That's right. Yeah.
In the last 3 days.
Yeah, we want to know if there's a queen in there which has laid within last 3 days. If you don't see any eggs, that means it might be queenless. But sometimes bees do have brood break, so you got to be careful. But usually if a hive is queenless, when you open it up, they'll be really buzzing around. They'll have like a frantic motion to it. So you'll see bees really kind of in hurry for some reason. So you sort of know, yeah.
So these ones are just walking around.
Yep, they're quite friendly, as you can see. They don't mind being worked, but you got to be really steady when you take them out. So this one's got a really good frame of brood. This is all kept. But as you can see, you see nectar in between. What this tells me is that this hive is running out of room because this is brood space, but they're putting honey into it. So that's why I put a new box on, because I don't want them to put honey here. I want them to put honey into the top
Yeah,
story.
they're putting eggs in the outside.
Mm.
So does that mean you're also going to put a queen excluder so that you don't get in by your honey?
So that's the thing. When you put the queen excluder, you don't also want them to discourage them from going up. So what queen excluder does, oops, sorry. what it does is that it discourages them from going up. And what that does is that it slows them down from building the comb.
I can actually attest to that because I had that experience with my new swarm that just moved in. I put the queen excluder on, put it in the box, and they didn't touch it.
They don't want to go up.
They didn't touch it. So today I took the queen excluder off and I took some of the brood frames from the bottom and put them in the top because I want the queen to lay, and I put new frames in the bottom.
The thing with the building new comb is that it works quite well in spring because there's a lot of nurse bees, because it's the nurse bees who draw the comb. But in the summer it becomes quite difficult because they're in a mode of collecting honey and less brood, which means less new young nurse bees, which is gonna build the combs because it becomes difficult. So that's why I don't usually put in honey excluder unless I actually want to exclude it. I mean, I want to extract the honey. So what I would do is that I'll let them build it, and then when they have built it, and it comes to a time that I want to actually harvest it, then I'll actually force the queen to go downwards and put an excluder in, so that she won't be able to lay eggs. So that one's, sorry, I don't see any larvae that's old enough to, Anyway, that's how you go through it. Anyone willing to try this?
Yes, me.
No. Now, how I do it is that I'll just go through it, and if I see eggs, then I'll just pack it up because I don't have to worry about it because it's got a queen. The only time that I'll go through all the frames is when I see swarm cells. So this one's all jam full of honey. Yeah, and some pollens. So
does every frame have its own queen or not?
nope. There's only one queen in the whole hive.
And one queen in the whole hive.
Yep.
Right.
So
Where is the queen?
before I close up, I just want to get them in the right place
Where is
because bees don't like having the frames moving around often, unless that's your intention. I sometimes move around the frames to confuse the bees so that they won't build up as quickly.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So that they won't, sorry?
build up as quickly.
To
Yeah.
stop them from swarming, kind of thing.
Yeah. But
They're starting to get a little more agitated. You can see they're starting to fly.
generally, I like to put the frames back in the right place.
So how do you harvest the honey?
So that's where we're gonna go.
Ah, right.
I saw a good frame from the other side, so from the other hive, so I'll try to open that one. So the exciting stuff is the harvesting part. Yep, I use the brush.
So each of every hive you have, how often are you typically having to go out and do something with it?
Okay, that's a good question, because when I first started, I thought I had to look at it every week. But since then, I've become a really lazy beekeeper, so I'll probably open it like once a month.
Yep.
Because I can tell which one's gonna build up quickly and which one's not. So in spring, I'll probably open it up more often. But in summer, when the nectar starts flowing, I'll just check. I'll see if they're running out of room, then I'll put it on. I won't actually physically go through all the frames now. Yeah. So now this one, I put in some frames, empty frames in the middle, and that really slows them down. Because what they like to do is they like to have a brood nest in the middle. But I've put in here, and they're sort of staying in this side for making brood, because I don't want this one to go too fast. But they started building new frame, so that's how they start to build a new frame. If you put the super on top, then they will start to build from the bottom. So that's an interesting thing that they do. So, but right now there's enough nectar, so we won't get any feisty behavior even if we do this. So I could even just put it here and no bee's gonna come and attack it, basically. One thing I should mention is fire hazard. So make sure you know what you're doing with this when you put it out. Some people like to tip it all out on like a gravel road because it's not going to catch fire. But a lot of beekeepers actually do cause fire time to time. So, and I'm very poor with the, I'm very poor on, what is it, pine needles. So I just like to keep them in there. So what I do is I just have like a wooden plug and just put it up there. That's just going to keep it out. Yeah, and I can reuse what's in there later on.